Courts of Thunder, Wimbledon, Episode 3. Glenn Clark, Greg Rosenthal, thank you all for joining us. Do we just pull back the curtain and say we're taping at the conclusion of play on Friday, and so deal with it, we'll tape again when we can? Is that basically the way that we're saying this, Greg? I guess I already did, so we can't take it back now.
Well, yeah, you just drove back into to the studio, and it's Manic Monday. It'll be the last one, which is where they play the entire round of 16 on the men's and women's side on Monday, and hopefully we'll tape as soon as possible after that, but probably not before. Yeah. But yeah. I appreciate you, Glenn. You know, I hope I'm not getting you in too much trouble. I'm on my vacation here, but I don't care. I realize vacation is actually a perfect time to watch a boatload of tennis, especially when it's a little rainy.
Even when you're working. You know, the nice thing about it being July is that nobody really expects any work to get done at this point. So, like, when the boss comes in on a Thursday afternoon and I'm just sitting around watching tennis, the boss is like, I get it. Like, I get it. There's nothing else going on. What are you going to do? Worry about the Orioles? Not a lot going on there either. So, all right, let's just get into it, Greg. Let's talk about things that have made us happy since the last time we talked. And there's a lot on my list, but I'm just jumping into it. There is nothing that is making me happier in the world than Seb Korda's backhand down the line. It is remarkable. I need him to maybe hit about 10% less drop shots. Like, that would be really nice. I feel like there's been an overall obsession at Wimbledon with the drop shot this year. And I don't know if it's just because the grass has been wet and players are just saying, let's take a chance that somebody's either not going to want to race after the ball or, I don't know, fall on the way there. It just seems like there's been an obsession with the drop shot in general. But Seb Korda in particular, just an awesome story. That's a tough spot to be in. Dan Evans on center court in front of a very pro Evans crowd, obviously, and he handles himself. He falls behind by a break in the fourth set and then absolutely slams the door. I mean, dominates the rest of the way through. We've been waiting for moments like this. There are other bummers we'll get to, but Seb Korda provided an insane amount of joy for me.
Well, I think just eye test wise, he's the best American man to come along since Andy Roddick. I don't think that's that hot of a take.
No, I don't think so. I think it's completely accurate. And
I heard the broadcast kind of talking about him later in the day about his meteoric rise, how crazy this run is. And I thought, yes, it's been quick. He's 20 and he was, out of the top 200 a year ago or a year and a half ago. But if you look at the results this year, he's played like a top 25 player this year. So, and if you look at the matchups that he had, we talked going into this match against Evans, I thought he's probably a little bit better than Evans. And the whole, like, Evans is the UK guy at home, that could go either way. That's a lot of pressure on Evans. And the thing that you love, if you really do want to kind of jump on the Korda Express here, is he reminds me a little bit of Coco Gauff in that he's ahead of his years in terms of his poise and his mental attitude. And he's very calm out there. I'm not someone who thinks calm is better, but it works for him. But more importantly, he's calm in terms of the way he attacks the game, approaches, makes decisions, mixes things up. He really feels like a creative player. I mean, he's very just a little bit like Djokovic in some way, not in the way he plays, but just like, okay, he's the perfect height. He's not too tall. Yep. He's got big time weapons. He's got the serve. He can move. He's kind of got it all. And at this point, I would kind of be shocked. It's so early. You don't want to like put too many expectations because tennis is so hard to predict. But he looks like he's going to be a solid pro for a long time. Like, if he doesn't have John Isner's career or better, I would be surprised and probably a little disappointed.
I'd be extraordinarily disappointed. I'd be extraordinarily.
But that's a top 10 player.
Look, I get it. Right. Isner's won a lot of tournaments.
Right. He hasn't done it at the Grand Slams. And Korda right now has done it in 2 Grand Slams already in terms of getting to the 4th round. And looking ahead, he's got Kachanov next. That's a winnable match. That's a 50-50 match. Kachanov's playing better, but that's a winnable match to go to go make a quarter and possibly play like a Denis Shapovalov in the quarterfinals. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be so much fun. My God, we'll talk about that in a second because it kind of steps into the next thing we're going to talk about, which is our pain. Give me something from you on the joy side of the equation.
I'm going to go Maddie Keys. I really watched her match closely today. She's hitting the ball big. I felt really good about her going into this. She played Elise Mertens, who's a really consistent top 20 player. But on the grass, when you hit as big as Madison Keys does, the other person sometimes has no chance. And to me, she hits the heaviest ball in the game, maybe men's or women's, in terms of just that top spin forehand. When it lands deep, it's like Nadal, but it even feels like it has more pace. And they do it. They do the miles per hour. Yep. And whenever they do who has the biggest average forehand speed, men or women, for the tournament, it's always Keys in the top three. It's like Keys, Nadal, it's women and men. So it's one of the things I love about tennis is like, there's no other sport like it where you can compare it. And she's hitting the ball well. She gets a very winnable match next round against Golubic, and then Golubic, and then could play Samsonova. We'll get into like the future matchup, but I like it. We've talked about her as someone that could win a slam if things come together. She's into the second week, and I think she's feeling good.
What really stood out to me today, Greg, I think at times with Maddie Keys has been, it's felt like the moment became overwhelming to her a lot in her career. I think obviously we think of the Sloane match, but I think there have been a few where you just felt like the moment got to her. And today Mertens challenged her a few times. Like Mertens was in games battling with her. Keys had to make shots, had to make points, had to handle it. And on a stadium court on top of that, right? Like on a stadium court with a huge crowd. She was up for the challenge. I thought she was phenomenal. I somehow think she might be even tanner than she's been in the past, which is amazing. That's a standard that I didn't know could be reached. But it goes to why, to me, she has always been box office. She has always been someone that if she could just break through and win a Grand Slam, I think she could become a celebrity figure. Just because she's got.
I wonder how she would handle it.
I don't, and that's fair. That's fair.
I love her, and I hate to sound like John McEnroe and psychoanalyze, but I really like her as a person. And whenever she's talking and everything you've heard about, sometimes she just seems too nice.
I hear you. I hear you.
So
and that's why I think the moment is
she's so nice, and sometimes she does not have the total same competitive instincts. I don't think
she lost the US Open final and was like cuddling the girl that just beat her. And I get they're best friends. Like I understand that, but she just lost the US Open final and there they are sitting in a chair together.
And so that's why I'd be anxious if she got to like a final or anything, but I think the way she's playing, she could. I'm going to throw out one more because I want to make sure I get in.
Yeah.
I think my favorite player left in this tournament on either side is Ons Jabeur.
It was awesome. That was awesome today. That was so cool.
Ons Jabeur is from Tunisia. She recently won a tournament. Everything she does is the first time an Arab tennis player has ever done it for the most part. She's the greatest, woman or man ever to come out of that region, essentially, which is massive. If you think of what like Li Na did for China, I really think Ons Jabeur could do that, for that area in the world. I know she has so many fans in so many countries in that area of the world. It's not like you have to be from Tunisia. Like Egypt's rooting for her. Like the entire Middle East is rooting for her. And she plays such a unbelievably box office, to use your word, brand of tennis, kind of like Li Na, not the style, but she's just an entertaining player that I think that helps. And she reminds me a little bit of Kerber in the sense that whenever I watch her match, I think she brings out good stuff in her opponents. And she can do everything. She can hit it big, but she can hit tons of drop shots. She can play slice. She moves extremely well. And she's like, a Gael Monfils in terms of playing style. She's a little bit like a Monfils, where she almost is a little too stylish for her own good. But in the last year, I've heard her talk about it a lot. She wanted to get serious, and she really has gone from a top 50, 60 type player to a top 20 type player. And to me, on grass right now, behind Barty, I guess, I think she's at would be my next favorite. The problem is she's in this loaded section, and that's what I'm just going to say I love. How about this? That's bringing me joy. I'm thinking about the next round.
Yep.
These are the matchups.
Yep.
Swiatek versus Jabeur. Jabeur just got through Muguruza in what I thought was, the highest quality women's match
and a match that tested her nerves, obviously, and it's the word that she had to there was an evacuation involved.
Wait, I missed that.
I think I heard that she at one point puked. Yeah.
I watched most of that match. I did like a radio hit with you. And
well, that's the fun. I was doing my show this morning, so I wasn't able to pay complete attention to it. So I heard that later on in the day. I gotta make sure.
Muguruza owns Jabeur was terrific, and Muguruza was throwing everything at her. Power game kind of versus variety.
Literally. Oh my God! Right before match point. She walked to the back of the court and she threw up. And I know it was a hot day too, so I hope physically. I just want to make sure.
This is why you don't take your kids out for lunch when it gets to 5-2 in the third. I'm like, okay, she's got it.
Right.
It's time to go. I'm sorry for holding you guys hostage. Let's go. This has been a great match. Let's move on. But that quarter is Swiatek versus Jabeur, and then Rybakina versus Sabalenka. And I know we should be talking like the big names and get the casual fans in here, but those four all in the same quarter, those matchups are great. Whoever plays out of those four in the quarterfinals, that's a great match, and all four of them feel like contenders for this title, and they're all stuck against each other. They have a lot of different styles, and Rybakina Sabalenka is just going to be ball bashing to the extreme.
Oh, no question.
Hitting the ball like crazy.
No question. I'm going to give you one more quick joy just because it was in a losing effort. Denis Kudla in the third set today kicked ass, and we don't get to say Denis Kudla's name much. He did make one nice run previously at Wimbledon in the second week.
You really do love the Americans. I mean, you're really
and you know what the cool thing about Denis Kudla is because we don't get to talk about him. Did you watch the third set today?
No, I didn't.
It was unbelievable.
Djokovic, I'm always just like, okay, wake
he
me
was
up
always
going to
win,
the quarterfinals. So I just like,
of course he was going to win. There was no doubt that he was going to win, and even as Kudla went up a break in the third, I said he's not even going to win this set. But the level that he was playing at and the way that he was challenging Novak Djokovic earned him a standing ovation coming off the court, despite the fact that he lost in straight sets. That's how good Denis Kudla was in the third set. It's also a statement about how good Novak Djokovic is, that Denis Kudla played the greatest tennis he could ever play in his life, and Novak Djokovic still won in straight sets. Like, let's be fair about that.
It's crazy how hard it is to take a set off of Djokovic.
Correct.
It is crazy.
Nuts. But a hell of an effort from Denis Kudla, even in a loss. All right, let's go to the other side. Oh, well, maybe we'll go to the other side. I guess I see what I did here. This is user error, so I apologize in advance. Hit that again.
Courts of Thunder.
The pain. There's lots of joy, but unfortunately, there's also a fair amount of pain. And I'm going to imagine I know where you would like to start in the pain department, Greg.
What? Where? I don't know. Where do you think
I figured you would start with Andy after how much joy you had the other day.
Yeah. Well, I thought this could go to one of two ways. Andy Murray loses to Shapovalov in the third round. I thought one of the ways it would go would be a fifth set match where the crowd is going absolutely wild and Murray somehow wins, and it's kind of the cherry on top of his run, even if it ends after that. And that the other way was how it went today, which is Shapovalov, who didn't play in the second round, is really in form, as good as I've ever seen him look in a Grand Slam. And Murray looks tired and he wipes the floor with him. That's what happened. I'm gonna choose to not feel as much pain and say that I'm happy Murray gave us what he did during this tournament. And I'm looking forward to see if Shapo can take out some people. He can keep moving, and it might be that Shapo Korda quarter, which would be fun. And I've been waiting to see Shapovalov in a big tournament. I checked though, look, he's only 22 years old. He seems like he's been around a while. He was the youngest player ever in the top 30.
Yep.
But sometimes, they go on their own schedules, and 22 is still pretty young for tennis.
I agree. And I thought Shapovalov was just unreal. And credit to Andy Murray, even like falling down multiple breaks and not giving up on a set. Like he doesn't have it in him. He's a competitor, and I appreciate that. I will forever appreciate. I understand. I'm going to make a comparison here, Greg. We had Manny Machado in Baltimore for a long time. And Manny Machado would regularly not run out ground balls. And for a certain group of baseball fans, that makes you Satan incarnate. I mean, it makes you an evil human being that you won't run out a ground ball. And I would regularly compare him to Brett Favre. I would say, hey, Brett Favre threw a lot of picks. You know what else he did? He threw a lot of touchdowns and incredible passes. And I would say, I will take the fact that Manny Machado decides the likelihood of me ever getting to first base here is next to nothing. I'm just not going to run this out. And maybe once in a while, you'll end up being embarrassed because somebody will, misplay a ball and you could have beaten it out for a hit or a reaching on an error and you didn't. But I'll live with that. And in the same way, I make the comparison tennis players. There are a lot of players that just know I'm going to pack it in. I'm going to conserve my energy. I'm not going to bother to fight. If I'm down a break, I will just move on and I will play for the next set.
The greats do it. A lot of the
100%. And I have such great appreciation for players that refuse to. Whether it's smart or not, it just might be dumb tennis. Whether it is or not, I have great appreciation for someone like Andy Murray who can fall drastically behind in a set and still say, the hell with it, I'm battling. I'm going in there and let's see what happens, and I will give everything on every point in order to try to work my way out of it and still have a chance to win this set. I have great appreciation for that, and he continued to do that even in the loss to Shapovalov.
Yeah, it was a bummer. He's going to have to work so hard to win matches now that it's going to be harder to get through these, best of five. But he'd only played a handful of matches leading into Wimbledon. And so I'm sure he feels like this was a pretty positive result, and he's not giving up on it. Just thinking about looking forward too. Sloane Stephens lost today and that hurt. But I think she could have a really good summer. She lost to Samsonova, who I couldn't think of her name on the preview show, but who won in Berlin 2 weeks ago, beating 4 or 5 straight top 35 players. And it's one of those, if you look at the result, she loses to a woman, Sloane loses to someone outside the top 50. You think, oh, that's not great. If you watch the match, she loses 6-4 in the third. Samsonova was redlining when she's a little bit like Keys, when she's just, it was the first time I really sat down and watched her. I don't know who was going to beat her today. She is nasty right now.
Yep. She's
a contender to win this title, I think, if she can handle her nerves. She was so fired up in this match, and she plays Pliskova next. This is why tennis is weird. I mean, Samsonova is clearly the favorite in that match. I don't know if they've put up the line, but I anticipate Samsonova will not only be favored, but will be a decently heavy favorite over a top 10 player who's made a Grand Slam final. Because if you just watch how she's playing right now at this moment, that's all that matters. And she was crushing the ball. I think Sloane battled well, and it wouldn't surprise me if she has a good hard court season. Sad to see.
I'm trying to check to see if there is a line for it yet, just out of interest, but I don't have it. Nope.
Anything else give you pain?
Francis gave me pain. I mean, Samsonova. It's basically Samsonova's actually a dog. I don't need to tell our listeners what to do if they're interested in that. But
she's
literally a +1 game dog. That
doesn't matter. I consider her a heavy favorite right now.
All right. I'll maybe I'll throw a little that way. Maybe I'll go that way myself. Francis gave me pain, and not because he lost. Like, I can deal with the fact that he lost, and it's not like I thought he was a threat to win the tournament or make the semifinals or something along those lines. But it was really, I thought, a matchup that was favorable for him against Khachanov, and he just never had anything. I mean, it was pretty emphatic. He didn't really, he was barely involved with it, and that was a bummer. I would just like for there to be another Francis moment, for there to be more of a feeling that there could be something real there.
There will be.
I know.
I mean, he just beat the top 5 seed, but you're right. I don't have confidence he's going to be a better career than John Isner. But,
right.
Like I said with Seb Korda, he's going to be a pro. He's going to be a top 50 pro, I think, pretty often, and he's gonna have his ups and downs. Right now, he's on an upswing, so that's a good thing.
I agree, and this will always be the tournament where he beats Tsitsipas, and that's a great thing. But this was not the way that I wanted to see him go out. I would have either liked to have seen him go out against somebody else, preferably Seb Korda, Or I would have liked to have seen him go out fighting today, and he really did not go out fighting, and that was the bummer of it for me. It was not very competitive.
I'm gonna give you another just painful moment. It was 7-6 Kasatkina over Ostapenko, or maybe it was 6-5 in the third set in the match that we kind of circled as the hipster match of the tournament. And the winner of that could go far. And we'll see. They're playing, we're taping this Friday, and Ostapenko is going to play Saturday. So we don't need to look too much forward, but great match, super tight, back and forth, 30-all, serving for the match. Kasatkina has a sitter forehand and just gets a heavy arm and misses it by about 7 feet. Ostapenko maybe lost another point or two in the match, and that I hate to see that. I like Kasatkina a lot. You said you're backing Penko.
I'm all in on Ostapenko.
Yeah, you were spreading some money around, and she might go very far. And as I thought, Kasatkina was it was a really tough matchup, and I think she could have gone far too. But man, it was just like a sitter 30-all. She would have had match point if she hit it, and like she missed it by about 7 feet. And I was like, oh, I've been there, and that's too bad. That's too bad. And she went away fast.
When you say you've been there, do you mean you've been there in tennis or like in life? Because I feel
both, but I've never been there in a real spot, but I've been there in tennis where you have a big you have a moment from that, and you
it just all comes,
and then you go away quickly. Do you have any more pain? Because I do have more of like a global, just almost
well, there's something that you have
existential thought.
Let's just hit this, and we'll call the final part of this potpourri. All right, let's just do this.
I want to, yeah, okay.
All right.
Courts of Thunder.
So I can't believe we got this far on the show without you bringing up, and I should have brought it up during Joy because it really was joyful. How effing cool was the Venus Williams Nick Kyrgios thing today? Oh my God, it was cool. And seeing her excitement, and they shared out this there was this awkward moment at the end where she goes to high five him and he doesn't know that like she's trying to high five him, and so as they're running to the net, like he misses that. But just the pure joy of the two of them playing together, and players that everybody at Wimbledon wants to root for. That was
on a big court too. The fans are loving it. And
that was awesome.
Really glad Kyrgios asked her. He could easily be taking these days off, and probably should. But who knows? You get to see it again.
Yep. It was phenomenal. It was just
move on.
It was as good as I wanted it to be, if not better.
He's part of what I'm looking forward to when we're starting to kind of turn the corner and think about the second week. I don't know if he's gonna get out into the second week. He plays Felix, Auger-Aliassime, which I was looking at has a chance to make a big tournament. But the reality is, it's very likely one of those two, they're playing against each other, which is a great popcorn match, is going to play Zverev in the round of 16. So what I'm looking forward to is one of those two guys taking out Zverev. So it's either going to be Nick or Felix against Zverev, which either way is going to be a really fun match. I would love to see Kyrgios just stampede through this tournament. But if not, if Felix takes him out, I'd love to see Felix like make a run here too. And that's part of the draw's a little open.
Give me great joy. I don't really care who it is takes out Zverev. I'm in favor of him going out, so I'm with you in that department.
We're almost getting unfair at this point.
I would prefer it to be Taylor Fritz, frankly, that would take out Zverev. I just don't think that's going to be the case. The thing that I'm looking forward to is, and you and I talked about it a bit this morning on my show, and there's some work to make it happen, but we're staring down a Federer-Medvedev quarterfinal at this point. And that is really exciting. And that is the type of thing that you set your watch for, and you have to be there to watch it. And look, Federer would certainly be a dog at that point, but is anybody doubting his ability to win that type of match at Wimbledon? He played far better against Gasquet than he did in the first round. Again, that maybe was to be expected. If that was what he needed, was to sort of survive something to feel good for a couple of rounds, I absolutely like his chances against Norrie. There's no doubt that I like his. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Sonego, who's playing well. If Federer won his third round match against Norrie, you would play either Sonego or Duckworth in the fourth round. I mean, you cannot draw up a better fourth round opponent. So it's good times. The Fed
fan experiences a lot of emotions. I think they probably all went from why even play this tournament after round one to, hey, maybe we can make the finals after round two. But that's how tournaments go. How old are you, Glenn, by the way?
I'm 37.
Did you have any more to say on Federer? By the way, I shouldn't veer
No,
us
that's
off.
it's just I'm excited that it looks like it's shaping up for us to get a little more out of Roger Federer, and that's a good thing. That's the selfish part of me, Greg, that I want other people to care about tennis too.
Yep,
I like that we care about it, I like that our listeners care about it, I like that they're into it. But you know, if what we end up with next week instead of Federer and Medvedev is Sonego,
Cilic.
you know, something, Cilic.
Cilic has Medvedev in the next round and is playing well. Is coming off of a tournament.
He's
So we'll see.
Well. He's playing.
So
well.
We'll see. But yeah, Medvedev, Federer. I don't know if they've played before, but those two styles going against each other sort of just blows my mind even to think about, especially at Wimbledon. So that's a popcorn quarterfinal. And Rublev and Djokovic are kind of headed for one. And if there's someone just crazy enough to swing through Djokovic for 3 straight sets, maybe it's Rublev. He hasn't shown up in the biggest of moments yet, but he is like crazy. He plays a crazy style and maybe could take the racket out of Djokovic's fans. So I asked out of his hands. I asked you how old you were because like I'm at the age where I'm getting to the point, and it's been going this way for a while, where it's like sports pain when I do feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
fleeting.
I don't want it anymore.
Okay.
It hurts me.
Okay.
I want to control my emotions, and I think like this isn't really worth it for me anymore. And like that's how I feel about the Patriots in some way. You know, that's partly because it's wrapped up in work. And I'm like, I want to start like disconnecting a little bit from this. I don't need this. I'm
in a great place in that way, Greg. By the way, fatherhood changed me in that way. Like nothing.
Okay.
The way that people talk about it biblically, like they'll be like, "Oh, you'll never be the same." It was exactly the way that it felt for me.
Well,
I stopped caring. I mean, I'm still in the moment. I care. In the moment, I care desperately. I care desperately in the moment. 5 minutes later, I don't care anymore.
Well, that's great. That's great for you, Glenn. But even if that's true, and maybe that's true to some degree for me, my morning was ruined on Thursday by Nishikori losing to Jordan Thompson. Ruined.
Yeah.
I had to leave it during the match at various points because I couldn't watch it. I went and played tennis with my son Walker. We're checking the scores. At that point, he's down 2 sets. We figure it's over. And then he comes back and, comes back from 4-0 down in the third to win that. And you're thinking, okay, here we go.
This is what he does. But
it just like ruined. I was just sour. And you're right. I did quickly recover. But I just like, I don't want this. I don't want this anymore. I don't want them like, I don't know why I care so much. It makes no sense. I don't know this man.
Right. Well, I don't know
why at this point. I don't know why at this point I would take, him winning a Grand Slam. If you told me if I could trade that for none of the rest of my teams, the Boston teams win a title for the rest of my life, I would easily take that trade, especially at this point. But it's
you got a few. You're okay.
Right. Well, that's but just I just like I can't like. Bill Parcells had this phrase: he said, as I get older, my defenses for losing are no longer there. I have no defense anymore. Like he had it as a younger coach, but he had no, like the winning isn't really that great, but the losing, he had no more like emotional defense. That's how I feel. I'm just like a slave. I'm a slave to this sport. Like, why do we care about sports?
But I think with Kay, it speaks to something more. You've taught like that's a connection with your kid too.
No, but it's just like another version of the Red Sox. Essentially, it's like another version of it. And now, yes, it especially hurts when this draw that he had. I've been bemoaning terrible draws, and finally he gets a perfect draw, and I'm like, Jordan Thompson. Well, this is one of the worst losses of his career, I would say, K's, and not, no one cares about this. But it just like was like, why do I care? No, it's just another version of the Patriots and the Red Sox. The difference is he hasn't, won the.
I felt that way. I mean, this is going to say something. The last time I felt that way about a tennis player oh, you're not going to like this, was Agassi. That I cared that deeply that like when he lost to Sampras in that last US Open final, it killed me. I mean, it killed me.
Yeah.
Because this was like him getting to make a final statement, and I just so badly needed it. I needed him to, and I was young, right? Like I was young and it meant a lot. I guess part of the problem is I haven't had the same emotional connection. Oddly, like
I probably won't again. My guess is I won't again because this was sort of my first player. Naomi, I'm close with it.
Right. And like Serena's my favorite player, but she won so much that I never really felt the pain the other way. So it wasn't the same.
Well, for any listeners who haven't, been following tennis as closely or wondering, I think picking, I think the great thing is you can root for a lot of players, but I do think having one player or one on each side or, one above the rest and not having it be the top guy, one of the top couple guys necessarily is kind of a fun way to go, but also a brutal way to go. Cause the beautiful thing is every tournament you get like 4 Super Bowls a year and you're always in it. At least you're like in it. And after you win 2 rounds, you think like, this could be the time, this could be the week. And you start over from scratch, and it's the beauty of it and it's the pain of it because it means that you're getting heartbreak every tournament, like, except for the few that you win, but you do get a lot of swings at the apple. Like I've quickly, like all I want is a Masters title now. I don't even need a Grand Slam. That would do it for me. And it's like, okay, let's move on to Tokyo. Let's go win a gold medal.
By the way, get back to me with this question. If Palabadosa loses to Magda Linette tomorrow, and then we can have this conversation again about how heartbroken.
By the way, Badosa, I'm on tennis Twitter. You're not the only one,
dude. She's everything.
She's a fan. The men love her. The lesbians love her. Everyone loves her.
She's got it all, dude. She has it all. I am in love with Paola Badosa. So check back in with me.
I gotta sit down and watch Badosa, man. I gotta admit, I've barely seen her.
She's the best. And I lied too, because the Roddick Federer, as much as I love Roger Federer, I really did that Wimbledon final that went on and was sort of the epic, not Federer and Nadal, because the quality of the tennis wasn't that good, but the one that lingered until late in the 5th set, that final, whatever year that would have been, 09, 10, I don't remember which year it was. But I did have those feelings about Roddick. I did want one more American Grand Slam, would have been really nice. And he was right there and playing against the best player in the world. And I absolutely had that feeling that you're talking about, despite the fact that I never connected with Roddick quite the same way that I did with Agassi. It was still, he represented our only chance of seeing an American Grand.
Well, now you get Seb Korda, 2024 Wimbledon champion. That's a fair timeline. He makes the quarters this year. He's the runner-up in 22, and then he wins it the next year.
As long as, hang on a second.
I'm kidding.
I'm doing the math on. I think that everything's in play the moment that Novak Djokovic isn't Novak Djokovic anymore, sure. And I hope it's by 2024, but I don't know that for sure that it'll be by 2024. But yeah, I'm in. I'm telling you, I'm in. I am absolutely in on Seb Korda. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I texted you today telling you I'm feeling something when he hits that backhand down the line.
Yeah, he might pat. I always that's K's signature shot for a long time. Yep. I thought him and Djokovic have the best two-handers and down the line, and maybe Seb Korda enters this conversation.
It is a weapon, man. It is a weapon. All right. Please continue to like, subscribe, review, share, all of the things. Comment. I made this joke. Even if you're commenting about how much you hate the Spider-Man hat that my 6-year-old asks me to wear all the time, even if you're doing that.
But that's on YouTube, yeah. Check out
the
YouTube. But
anywhere you do anything you do.
If you listen on Spotify or Apple, just put on the YouTube and then leave the room and come back.
That would be great too. We would appreciate that. Give us some stars, give us some whatever. Really, a lot. Such overwhelming feedback, and that means a lot to us because we are doing this for free. Just for fun, and so we really appreciate all the kind words that y'all have shared with us. And if you've got some things that you'd like us to do, some ways to mix it up, we'll be happy to listen to that and then ignore it. That's exactly what we'll do if you give those to us. We'll take it to heart. All right, buddy. I don't know when we're going to do this again. Happy 4th. Happy Manic Monday.
Enjoy it. We will have multiple episodes in the second week of Wimbledon. It is going to be fun.
No doubt. All right. This has been Courts of Thunder.